What's good, y'all? It's your boy, BioSpider 3.0, keeping the action going with the Star Wars The Black Series, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Tibidon Station version, all right? So we are back here, getting into the full review here. Hopefully you saw my first look video. I talked about the packaging. I showed the figure inside and I showed off the packaging, read the bio. So be sure to watch that before you watch this full review if you haven't. But just real quick, just to show you guys a little quick comparison of the packaging with some other, figures in the Black Series line. Here is the Kenobi packaging for the figure that we're looking at right now. All right, so you can see it's got the cool artwork there on the side. And if you compare that with the Dooku figure, this is the Count Dooku from the Black Series. All right, this is the standard version, and then you have I think it's the 20th anniversary version or something like that. It's in a different style packaging, Revenge of the Sith. But this is the standard, Black Series solo version box. And so on his box, there's actually no artwork for him on the side. It's just, the red, kind of the red line going down. He does actually have a picture on the back though, so that's cool. But yeah, he doesn't have the artwork like this, this Kenobi figure does on his box. And then you compare that with the Reva the third sister from the Kenobi show. And she does have the artwork on the side. So I think pretty much all of the Kenobi show figures, they all have some kind of artwork on the side of the box. And so, and that's a really cool thing because, if you're a inbox collector or, you like to display your packaging as well, you do have the option of having, all the artwork lined up, each package, so you can see, each character lined up. My buddy Joe has actually done that, quite a few times, and he sent me pictures of, all his, Black Series boxes kind of stacked up, side by side, and it looks really cool when you have all the artwork there to display. So that's just a little quick something I wanted to point out. That is a really cool feature, I think, for these Black Series, packages. But yeah, enough about the packaging. Let's get all these boxes out the way. Let's go ahead and get Kenobi on the rotating display stand so you can get a nice up close look at him for the 360. All right. And this is a very nice Kenobi figure, man. I did, play with him a little bit out of box. Joints, are pretty smooth. We'll get into all of that. But I didn't have any trouble with his joints or anything. You'll see his lightsaber obviously does have storage, so you can store it on the side of his belt, so that is really cool. And you may not be able to see it right now, but he comes with a blaster from the show, of course, and that is holstered on his other side. The holster works very nice. The blaster fits in there very snug, so yeah, no issues there. Just an overall very nice figure. Hasbro tends to do a really good job with the Black Series. I would say the Black Series and G.I. Joe are probably their strongest lines. So yeah, they tend to put a lot of good detail, paint, and articulation into those two toy lines. So, nice to see that Kenobi is no exception to that. So let's get him rotating here. And the cloth, robe or cape, whatever you want to call it, I guess it's kind of more on the lines of a cape than a robe, but it is really nice. It's made of some very nice fabric, and it doesn't feel cheap or anything. It's a pretty nice fabric. It drapes across him pretty nicely, very natural looking for the most part. And you'll see in a minute here, but it actually is kind of split in the back. I don't know if that's show accurate, but it does actually have a split kind of going down. Not quite the middle. It's kind of off to the side, but it is separated into two pieces, as you'll see. And but yeah, overall, pretty nice piece. So you can see him rotating on the display stand, get you a nice full 360 look. We'll give him one more turnaround here, and then we'll take him off. All right, and pause it here. Boom. All right. Let's move this aside. Bringing in Mr. Kenobi for a closer look. You can see very nice details. Paint and detail on this guy is very clean. I will have a clean figurine scale breakdown in the description of this guy, so be looking out for that. I owe you guys, quite a few, or at least a few for sure, clean figurine scales for some of these figures that I've reviewed recently. I know I haven't had time to do the full breakdown in the description, but I will be getting to that. So, rest assured, if you're still maybe on the fence about any of the recent figures I reviewed, and you want to see like a full breakdown, my breakdown for, all the different points that we talk about, articulation, detail, paint, accessories, and so forth. I will have those breakdowns in the description very soon. I'm going to try to catch up for all of the recent figures at least that we've been looking at. And I'll be sure to have a full breakdown in this guy's description as well. But overall you can see details on him are very nice. I love the wrinkled texture in the tunic that he's got on, the nice blue tunic. Very, very nicely done. You can see the sculpted wrinkles on him. Very, very nice. Gives it a lot of realism, I'm glad it's not just like a flat sculpt. So that is very, very dope. You can see we even got a little bit of silver, paint apps for the buckles on his belt there, which don't look too bad. I guess the silver pretty much is, where it should be. It doesn't seem like there's any real sloppiness to it, so that's good. And he's got this little pouch right here on the side, very nicely done. And I'll raise his arm. You can see the lightsaber is very nicely stored at his side there. Lift the arm up. So you can see his hilt is very nicely attached to the side. It's kind of at an angle right now, so if I can make it a little more straight. There we go. I like to have it basically hanging like right down, because you can see his tunic actually splits into like two pieces right there. You can actually kind of like see the split on the side, so I like to have his saber kind of hanging down like right in between that little split, and I think that looks pretty clean. But yeah, the saber storage is a very, very nice thing. I love, seeing that on a figure. Any like Jedi or Sith figure, seeing the hilt like at their side stored is just, such a cool thing. I love that. I've always loved that in Star Wars, in the movies, you can always like see their hilts. Some characters keep it more hidden than others. Like they might wear robes or, something draped across them that kind of hides the saber as like an element of surprise, which is cool as well. But yeah, I always like to see the hilts stored at their side, so that's very cool. Very nice details in the pants as well. Not too glossy as far as the paint, which is nice. It definitely does have a little bit of shine to it, but not too bad. The tunic I would say is more of a matte finish overall compared to the pants, but still very nice. You got the wraps down there by, kind of going towards his ankles, and then the boots. Very, very nice. You got the dark brown for the boots. So, yeah, I think that looks pretty nice. Very good stuff. Coming around to the back, you obviously have the robe or cape, whatever you want to call that. And then you can lift this up. Oops, there goes his hilt. But yeah, you can see underneath he's got the tunic continued. Again, very nice, sculpt work. Got some wrinkles in there. Got the brown paint for the belt. And yeah, just all around, very nice, nicely done figure. Getting a up close look at his face sculpt. I think they did a pretty decent job. What do you guys think? I think that definitely looks like, Kenobi in the show, right? So this is obviously years after Revenge of the Sith. He obviously should look a little bit older. And I think they did a really nice job with his face sculpt, like even the hair, the way the hair was treated. Seems like there might be, I'm thinking there's a wash going on through the hair. So that seems to bring out some more details, kind of give the hair some depth, which is really nice. But yeah, a little bit of a black wash going through the brown there. Kind of see like light brown, almost orangish colors as well. So that's pretty cool for the beard. Very nicely done. Same thing with like the top of the head. You can see all the details in the hair. Just noticed that right now on camera. I don't know if that's a spot or like a hole in his hair, but it seems like he's got like a little black. You guys see that right there? A little black something right there. That's kind of interesting, but yeah. Anyways, overall paintwork very, very clean for the hair. Very nicely. Oops, dropped him. Very nicely textured hair. Very, very good. Very realistic looking. So I love like all the layers sculpted in his hair. I like that it's not just, one flat piece all the way back. So that looks very, very good. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into play and display, shall we? Because this guy does have some pretty nice articulation. So, play and display, here we go. Starting with the head sculpt. So his head, I did take the head off earlier. The neck came off with it. I don't know if that's meant to happen like that. It seems like the neck and the head are separate pieces, but it seems like the head is connected to the top of the neck with like maybe a ball peg, which allows it to get some really good movement. And then the bottom of the neck is connected to what looks like a dumbbell joint. So it's got another ball peg, just above like, the collar line. And then I'm sure there's like another ball peg going down inside into the torso. But anyways, as far as like the head range and everything, he's able to look up pretty nicely. It's pretty good. So here's your side view for looking up. That's pretty good range, Could be a little bit better, I think. If I really like crank it, he can look up. I think that's pretty good, I don't think he really needs to like really like, just jut his head back or anything. But yeah, I think that's some really good range for looking up. And then as far as looking down, he's able to look down that far, which is again very good. He's able to basically tuck his chin into like the robe, so that's very good. Coming up, he obviously has rotation side to side. Can actually go a full 360. Very nice. And he does have some tilting on that ball peg, so you get some little bit of like nuance and attitude or curiosity type of expressions. Little head tilts in there, so that's cool. Always add some dynamism to the posing of this guy. All right, and then as far as the arms, no bicep swivel. You'll see that most of the Black Series figures don't tend to have a bicep swivel. I don't know what it is about this line. They don't like to give them bicep swivels for some reason. But to make up for that, we do have a swivel at the elbow. So the elbow does swivel, in and out. So basically midway in the arm, you can turn it, in and out like that. He's got a single jointed elbow that allows him to crunch just a little better than 90 degrees. So that is pretty nice, just a little bit better than maybe 90, or at least 90 on this side. I think this side might actually crunch in a little more, but you can get like at least a 90-degree angle on his left arm. And then the shoulder is on a hinge, so you can hinge the arm out to the side, basically a perfect, straight line, so you can get a nice T-pose. If we do it on both sides, he's got a nice T-pose going there, right? And then you can raise it. You can get it very nice down to its size to where it looks very natural, which I like. I wish they would do this more with like Marvel Legends, because a lot of times, their arms tend to kind of stick out to the side kind of awkwardly. Same thing with the Lightning Collection. That was like a big problem in the Lightning Collection. So I like that his arms are able to come down pretty naturally, and you can obviously, adjust this joint here. If you want it to look even more natural, you can kind of like turn the arm in a little bit, or however you want to do that. And then of course you can rotate at the shoulder, so you get a full windmill, 360 windmill action in the arm like that. And yeah, there you go. And then as far as the hands, I believe they're on, I don't think it's a ball peg. I'm pretty sure it's a hinge. It seems like a vertical hinge for both sides. I tested them on both sides. So that is really, really good for, blaster holding or obviously lightsaber wielding. That's going to get you some really good poses, being the fact that he can kind of do, get his wrist to do this motion. So get the arm to go, the hand to go up and down like that. It is like very slight, but it does, it does help, I would say, in posing. If you want to get the saber or the blaster at like a different angle, it helps that he has a vertical hinge on both sides. And you can obviously rotate the hand, keep the arm straight here. You can rotate the hand a full 360 as well. nice tight joints in there too. So that is, very good to see. And real quick, just want to give a huge shout out to my buddy Joe again for hooking me up with this figure, because he's always finding a way to hook me up with Star Wars figures. So I really appreciate him for that. Like I said, I've been on like a huge Star Wars, run and just mood lately. I've been looking into like a bunch of different lore and things like that. So, I'm loving the whole Star Wars, geeking out right now. Really, really loving it. And Joe is somebody that I can, share that nerdy passion with. So I appreciate him for hooking me up with this figure. But yeah, and then coming to the torso again, no ab crunch or upper diaphragm joint, but we do have some, engineering in the waist here, of course, so we can rotate at the waist very, very nicely. Pretty sure you can go a full 360, but I'm not going to crank mine too much. It's a nice tight joint. You can kind of hear that squeaking of the plastic as I rotate him. That's how you know the joints are nice and tight in there. All right. He does have a little bit of leaning to the side, to each side. It does get a little bit gappy, but not too bad. So maybe don't crank him all the way, but I think that still looks pretty good, actually, pretty natural. And then you can crank him the other way, like that. So he's got some pretty decent amount of leaning to each side. All right. And then as far as crunching forward, doesn't get a whole lot, but he does get a little bit of range, just a little bit going forward. Going backwards, though, he does get a lot more. And it does get actually pretty gappy. If you push him all the way back, you can actually start to see the cavity in there. You can see the dumbbell joint. So I'm sure if I were to pull this apart into two different pieces with the lower half and the torso, you could really see like the ball peg set up in there, because you can actually see the stick for the peg, running down the middle there. If you look real close, it's probably not going to really show good on camera, but there is like a, stick for the peg inside. So there you go. As far as the legs, now this is a pretty soft, pliable plastic, which is good. So he's not really hindered at all when he's kicking the leg up. So he can kick it up almost to a perfect 90 degrees. But actually, yeah, I would say a perfect 90. So he can kick up really, really nicely, like a, Marvel Legends figure. And about the same as a Marvel Legends going back. So he can kick the leg back about that far. Nothing special, but nice that we have that, at least that minimal range. We have a cut underneath for a thigh swivel. So he is able to rotate the leg each way, side to side. We got a nice thigh swivel in there, nice and tight. Single jointed knees that get him a 90-degree bend, which is pretty nice, Yeah, you'll see that most of the Black Series figures have, single jointed knees and elbows. That's just the way that Hasbro does them, I guess. They always got to find a way to cheap out somewhere, right? If they make the figure look amazing, odds are the articulation is probably going to suffer in some way or another when it comes to Hasbro. But it's hard for us to get the best of both worlds with this company. But that's why we have imports. That's why we got SH Figure Arts and Mayfix, all right? But yeah. So and then coming back to the legs, or at least to the feet now. We have a hinge, so he can hinge the boot all the way down. He can kick up a decent amount with the boot like that. And then we have some rotation in the ankles. We got a good ankle pivot, very nice swivel in the ankle. And we can actually, I guess that's it. I was going to say you can maybe rotate the foot side to side, but honestly not really. It just, you just be rotating basically the entire lower leg when you do that. But yeah, under the knee. But yeah, very nice, ankle rocker and swivel in there. So you can gets a very steep swivel like that. You can really basically go into his ankles from each side. So that's cool. But yeah, and then as far as out to the side, he's not going to get a perfect splits, but I mean, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. He doesn't really need to be doing splits or anything. He was pretty acrobatic, at least as his younger self. We saw that in the fight with Maul. So he's able to do a lot of flips and stuff when he wants to. But, this is an older Kenobi. He's not going to be doing a lot of flips, especially being in this show. When he faced Darth Vader in this show, Darth Vader was pretty much in his prime. and he was going easy on Kenobi because Kenobi was like an old man, hadn't really fought in years, and Darth Vader had him shook when he pulled up on him. So my man's was definitely not the Phantom Menace prime, Obi-Wan flipping around and doing all that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty good for out to the side, right? So there you have that. All right, so now that we've taken a good look at the figure, let's go ahead and take a look at his accessories. So first up, I'll just show this off. Here is the backpack, because obviously I want to save the best for last. You guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, here is the backpack that he comes with. It is very nicely detailed, pretty nice sculpt on it. I don't know if it's just molded in this color or if there's actual like paintwork on here, but either way, it's a very nice looking piece. Seems to be either molded, or I want to say it's molded. It doesn't really look like paint to me. It seems like too uniform all around to be paint, but I could be wrong on that. I'm still learning to kind of discern the difference between something that's just molded in a certain color, like a molded plastic, and then plastic that's actually painted. Sometimes I really can't tell. So, as I get more and more figures, I'm trying to kind of distinguish that a little better, and by watching, of course, other people's reviews. But yeah, very nice piece. Just a basic, brown color all the way around. No real wash or anything going throughout it, but the sculpt is very nice. You got some latches here for the pouches in the backpack. Got the little straps going up top here. I don't think these open or anything. Oh, I take that back. They do. I did not know that. I just discovered that on camera with you guys. But yeah, I guess these latches actually do come out. They're pegged in. Let's see if I can get it out on this side. This one seems to be fighting me a bit. Okay, yeah, there we go. Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, I did not know that, but you can actually unpeg these latches on the back, and you can actually open this up. And yeah, it is hollow inside, so you could actually kind of store something in there if you wanted to. You could probably put his blaster in there, maybe, if you didn't want it holstered at his side, or anything that'll fit in that little hollow space. Yeah, you could put it in the backpack. So that's pretty cool. I did not know that, detached like that. So that's pretty cool. And they've got pegs, so you can obviously punch them back in, and there you go. So yeah, that's really nice. That's a nice feature. I didn't know they did that, so that's pretty cool. It's got straps, obviously. I have not put it on his back. I didn't want to waste time doing it for the review because I knew I was just going to have to take it off when I show you guys the articulation. But I'll have some shorts up of this guy, obviously, posing him around, and I will show you his full outfitted look. So, so you guys can see the backpack on him. But yeah, that's the backpack. Very nice little piece there. And let's see, next up I'll show you the blaster. I had it holstered already at his side, so he does have a holster for the side for storage. But I'll go ahead and pull it out for you guys so you guys can see that. If I can move this little latch out the way. And like I said, it does fit pretty snug in there. There we go. So it has a very nice fit. But yeah, here is the blaster, and not too much to it. It's kind of done in this almost like bronze gunmetal color, kind of looks like you can see like hints of like gray and kind of brownish color going throughout. I don't know how good the lighting is showing that off, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty nicely done. It looks like a kind of like weathered, age type of gun, but it is very nice. Definitely very Star Wars-esque looking, so that is pretty cool. Something you find at the Star Wars gun shops, so that's pretty cool. Blasters all day, bro. Blasters over bullets any day. That's my verdict. That's my consensus. Blasters will forever be cooler than actual guns. All right. So maybe that's my hot take of the day, but blasters all day, bro. But yeah, very, very nicely done there. So yeah, that's his blaster. I'll put that aside. And of course, we have the great famous lightsaber hilt of Mr. Kenobi. All right, and it looks very nice. I love, seeing the detail on these hilts. That's always something I paid attention to as a kid, is like how the different hilt designs looked for each character. And I really, really love Kenobi's hilt. His Padawan hilt is obviously a very different design than this one, but this is like more of like his master hilt design. But yeah, this is just, very, very cool. I think they did a pretty good job with this. I believe it's pretty show accurate too. I'll have to, double check after the review, but I think this is mostly accurate. So you got like the gunmetal gray color kind of going down the, base, like the grip part of the hilt. Very, very nice. Very nicely sculpted and detailed, gunmetal gray. And then you've got silver right here for the ignition switch right there. That ignition button. Hopefully you can get some good focus on it. There you go. Got that nice silver for the ignition switch. You got some more silver down here for the pommel, which is really nice. Some more of that kind of gunmetal gray, almost black color in between. And of course you have the peg sticking out there on the side for him to store it on his belt. Coming back up top, you have kind of like a bronze color, which is really nice. So that's pretty cool, just below the emitter. And then the actual emitter itself is in a, again, kind of gunmetal gray color, which is really nice. You can see the hole right there that you plug the blade into. And I think this is accurate because I know that in episode 3, his emitter is actually supposed to be silver. And I know a lot of people were mentioning that in the reviews of that new SDCC 2-pack of Anakin and Obi-Wan that came out for episode 3, which I will be getting that. So be sure to look out for my review on that because I'm super excited to get that 2-pack. But yeah, I guess, I know for a fact that this is normally supposed to be silver, at least for like the episode 3 version. But I believe in the Kenobi show, somebody mentioned in like one of their reviews that I think this actually is accurate to the Kenobi show. I don't know if, I guess maybe the design for his hilt changed maybe over time, but I think this gunmetal gray darker color is actually accurate. So, that's interesting. I'll have to go back and watch Kenobi to confirm that, but if that's the case, then yeah, that's interesting how his hilt design changed a little bit, after the events of episode 3. But yeah, there you have it. And then here is, of course, the blade, looking very, very awesome. You got the nice blue blade. I really like the color of blue, or like the shade of blue that they chose for this. Very nice, saturated, dark, kind of like ocean blue. I mean, on the camera, it probably looks even like a little bit lighter than it does in person. I got the natural light coming in here, so everything tends to look a little bit, maybe lighter in color, but yeah, I think this, when you see it in person, it's a very nice, pretty blue color, bro. I really like it. It looks very dope when you plug it into the lightsaber, or to the hilt, of course. And yeah, just looks awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in to the hilt so y'all can see that. And this is, of course, how it comes in the package already ignited. But yeah, here is the hilt with the blade, so you can see that. Man, I just love the sounds of the lightsaber, man. Just such a unique, like, dope sound, that hum as it moves and all the clashing sounds, just super dope. And later on I'll have a video talking about, the engineering behind the sound for the lightsabers, but yeah, just very, very cool. Very dope to see this. So let's go ahead and get Obi-Wan holding it. And you guys will be pleased to know that he can actually do a two-handed, two-handed saber hold. All right, so yeah, he can actually grip it with both hands. And his hands are made of a pretty soft, pliable plastic, so it isn't too hard to get it in his hand. You just kind of have to flex the fingers a little bit and then just kind of slip the hilt in between. But once you get it in there, it is a pretty solid grip. So that is good. Very good to see. All right. So let me go ahead and get him gripping it here. And then I'm going to try to get him in the two-handed pose so you guys can see what that looks like. It's a little bit hard just because he doesn't have a bicep swivel, but because he has that swivel at the elbow, you can definitely, get it done. You just kind of have to finesse it a little bit. But, okay, yeah, there we go. Kind of get him holding it like that. There we go. All right, so let me get this cape out of his face. The cape I did kind of have to like play around with when I first got it out the box. Yeah, I mean, I try to drape it, naturally so that it looks like the artwork on the box. And what I tend to do is to try to kind of like lift Kenobi's head up a little bit so that I can get the cape going under his chin, and I try to like pull it back basically from the back so that it's, nicely tucked under there. And I think that gives him the most natural look. But there he is with a two-handed saber pose. All right, so you can see he's got both hands gripping it. And the plastic that they use for the hilt is a little bit softer than I would like. Can't talk. I think it is kind of like bendy, and I prefer the hilts to be a more, solid plastic, which is, that's why, I tend to like the SHF hilts a little bit better, just because they are obviously higher quality, more premium, and they're like more solid plastic. They don't really have any bend to them. So I like that, but for the Black Series, I think this is perfectly fine. So yeah, just be aware of that. And Star Wars is one of those things where I would definitely, I'm definitely going to be diving into like different lines. Like when it comes to getting what I think are like the best, figures for my collection, you're definitely going to see me get, obviously more Black Series, but also, SH Figure Arts and Mafex as well. Because I feel like, Star Wars is one of those lines where some companies tend to do better on other characters than others. Obviously Hasbro does a pretty amazing job with the Black Series overall, but, sometimes I tend to prefer the SHF or Mafex versions of a character over the Black Series, and, vice versa. It could go either, any way out of those three companies. So you'll see me mixing and matching different, characters from those three, toy companies. But yeah, I think they all do a pretty solid job with Star Wars. And sometimes, one company might do better than the other two. But yeah, there you go. So let's go ahead and look at some size comparisons, and then we will call it a review. All right, so first up, let's get them compared to the Black Series Count Dooku from Episode 3. All right, so this is the Count Dooku that I showed the packaging off for earlier. All right, try to pull his arm down here so you can see his face better for the size comparison. But yeah, there you go. There is Count Dooku compared with Kenobi, and I can't wait. These guys look so dope. Obviously, Kenobi never clashed with Dooku at this stage. Dooku was long gone, obviously, but very cool to actually see these two side by side finally. I had to get some more Jedis, man. I had to get some more good guys on the shelf because I got all these bad guys, all these Sith Lords and Inquisitors. So I needed some, Jedis, some different colored sabers up there. But here he is with Reva, the third sister from the Black Series. And this is obviously, they're in the same show together. So this is a perfect comparison right here. So now you can see how Reva looks compared to Kenobi. And she is actually a little bit taller than him. I don't know if that's accurate. I'll have to go back and watch the series, but figure form, she's definitely a little bit taller, so that's something to note. But yeah, there you go. I mean, when I first got Kenobi out the box, I will say he did seem like a little bit short to me, but once I saw him next to like Count Dooku and stuff, I was like, oh yeah, he seems about the right size. And then we have the Mafex Episode 3 Vader. All right, so we got Prime Vader here. Man, I forgot to bring that battle damaged Darth Vader, the Black Series Duel of the Fates Vader, or no, Duels In, my bad, Duels In Vader from this show. I'm sorry guys, I forgot to bring that for the comparison, but I'll definitely show it off in one of the next Star Wars reviews so that you can see those two together. But for now, here is a Prime, unbattle damaged Vader from Episode 3, and I think, yeah, they scale pretty well. Also, they look really good. Moving him aside, here we got him with a Phase 1 Clone Trooper and the Darth Ray figure from the Black Series. All right, you can see how he scales right there. Very, very nice. Moving these two. And then we have the Fantastic Four The Thing figure and Mr. Fantastic from Toy Biz. You can see how those two scale. I'm gonna run out of time here, guys, so I'll probably put a quick description or video for the other characters. But thank you guys for watching. I'll